Oh, good Lord. Well, hello and welcome to a long overdue Ask the Coach Live. I'm Alan Goff, Coach Al, your host. It has been 3 months since I have done one of these. It seemed like weeks. I put up a little post yesterday, said I was going to start these over again, and I came back in here to get running. It's like they changed all the settings. It's frustrating. But anyway, I believe we are up and we are running. So welcome. Today is Friday. It's May 1st. And I chose a lesson today that would be safe. I chose a safe lesson. There are some things that are on my mind, and there are some things that are in my heart that I am perturbed about. There are some things that I'm kind of a little ticked off about right now, and I just got some angst about some things that that I'm going to do a Facebook Live about, a couple of them. But right now, they got me so irritated that if I try to tackle the lesson right now, I'm going to make somebody mad, probably. I'm going to say something that maybe I shouldn't, and I'm not going to be able to take back my words, especially on a live. And so I'm going to take the weekend to think through those, process that, make some notes. I'll come back and I'll do another Facebook Live next week, probably before Friday though. Because I've got a few things I want to chat with you about. I've got a few things that I want to teach you. I got a few things that I want to share with you that are really going to be helpful. That's really going to be helpful to get you to stand out above the rest. And I'm going to tell you something. The rest, we aren't even at average anymore. The average is so below average. The average person is so below average. The average business is so below average. The average leader is so below average. I tell you, we are hitting some new lows in society and in life and in leadership and in business. And I'm going to talk about some of those things with some experiences that have happened to me recently that have really got my, as my uncle would say, pardon the phrase, but got my panties in a wad. So we're going to talk about those. I think I'm going to do another Facebook Live and talk about some of those on Monday. Anyway, watch for it. I thought I would take the safe approach today and talk about what I call the 10 lessons every business owner needs to know. So it doesn't matter if you are a business owner leading a team. It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, just leading yourself, whether you are just wanting to get better and you want to go further, farther, faster in life and rise higher than the pathetic average. This is a good lesson for you. Where this came from was a while ago. I was going to say recently, but it's really a while ago. I was asked to participate in a panel. So I was on a panel discussion, and I was the guy that was asked to come and represent the leadership subject, the subject of leadership. So I had 10 questions assigned to me. I'm going to cheat. I have my phone and I have those questions in front of me, and I have just a couple of bullet points that I was prepared to speak about on those questions while I was on that panel. But that goes back a little longer than in my memory remembers. I thought it was just recent. Again, it wasn't as recent as my memory thinks it was. So I'm going to, if you see me looking down at my phone, it's because I'm following the notes that I used that day, and I'm going to expand on them here. So here we go. Question number 1 that was posed to me was this: what is a common misconception about leadership? What is a common misconception about leadership? Here's my answer to that. Number 1, there's two big misconceptions. Number 1 is that there is a misconception that management and leadership are the same. Folks, they couldn't be further apart. There is nothing the same about management and leadership. And it really gets my goat sometimes, and I hope you can tell that. It really pisses me off when I hear people use the word management and the word leadership as synonyms in the same sentence. I see this all the time, especially in leadership positions and in management positions. You know, it first started for me when I became a coach, well, actually, it was before that, is when I became a professional speaker. And I spent the first 4 years or so in that profession. All I did was travel and keynote. And I would get hired as the guy that would typically come in and do either the opening keynote at a big event, and I would just get everybody all excited to be there, or sometimes I'd be the closing keynote, and I'd get everybody excited to go home. Anyway, I would keynote, and I would get people that would email me and say, hey, I saw you speak at that event. I was at that conference. I was at that convention. I was at that seminar. I was at that workshop, and I saw you speak there. And you speak about that subject differently than we've ever heard before. And your style is different than what we're accustomed to. Would you come and spend some time with us in our business, in our company, and teach and maybe train our frontline leaders or our frontline managers or our executive team or our sales team even sometimes, or whatever it was. And so I would go into a business. I would go into that company, and I would spend anywhere from half a day, maybe a full day, a day and a half, 2 days, nothing more than 2 days. That was even a little bit extreme. And I would spend some time with them. And it was while I was inside of those organizations, I saw such a disconnect between, I saw such a disconnect when it came to leadership in general. People didn't know how to lead. People don't know how to lead. And here I am. I felt so humbled. I'm in some of these big glass towers in big major cities, in the corner office, the proverbial corner office in the glass tower. And I'm in there with these high position leaders, C-suite leaders. These guys are making more money than I can shake a stick at. I don't know where that phrase comes from. I could shake a stick at an awfully big pile, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying. These guys are making more money than whatever. They could buy and sell me like a piece of dirt. But anyway, they don't know how to lead. And it's fallen apart. And it comes down to this misconception, is so many people think that management and leadership is the same thing. And there's chasms apart between those two. There's nothing similar about them. They require completely two different skill sets, completely two different mindsets, completely two different thought processes. Anyway, and I say this, if you don't know the difference between management and leadership, you won't know how or when to execute either. And it's going to be just a matter of time that you'll fail at both. That I can guarantee you. That you can take to the bank. That you can count on. I'm playing with my light, can you tell? Anyway, that's the biggest misconception that I see out there when it comes to leadership. Misconception number 2 is that title makes you a leader. Just because you got some fancy title, just because you're the owner, just because you're the CEO, just because you're the president, just because you're the senior partner, just because you're a vice president, just because you're put whatever title you want on that. You got some fancy title that makes you feel good, that strokes your puny little, fragile ego, does not make you a leader. Title has nothing to do with your effectiveness as a leader. In fact, I've been in way too many businesses. I grew up in a family business where, if I could dare say, the guy that owned it, the guy whose name was on the side of the building, the guy who stroked, name was on the check and stroked the checks, by position, he was a leader, maybe positional leader at best, but that's the lowest level. When we think of John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership, positional leadership is the lowest level, and it's the most ineffective. And the only reason people follow your lead is because you have leverage over them, and if they don't do what you say, there's a negative consequence that's going to happen to them. In my book, that's not even leadership. Title does not make you a leader. I've been in far too many environments where the janitor, the least likely person, has significantly more influence than the person with the title. And again, I'm going to reference John Maxwell. Of course, I love John. I get to spend time with John a couple of times every year. I've been a certified John Maxwell leadership coach and trainer, consultant with him, for 10 years now. And he gets credit for saying, leadership is nothing more than influence. It's nothing more than that. So 2 biggest misconceptions when it comes to leadership, as far as I'm concerned, that leadership and management are the same. Big misconception. So untrue. and the title makes you a leader. Nothing could be further from the truth as well. All right? Hope you get that. Anyway, question number 2 that was posed to me on the panel reads, how do you define leadership? And how has that changed throughout your career? How do you define leadership? So I'm just going to read you the note that I put in here that prepared myself for that panel, and then we'll see if I can expand on that here on the live. Again, how do you define leadership and how has that changed throughout your career? The best and most accurate definition I have ever come across and gets credit, again, goes back to one of my personal mentors, and that's John C. Maxwell, Dr. John Maxwell. And he says this, I just touched on it actually, and that's leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. I have never, ever been able to find a better definition of leadership than that. You just can't argue with that. There's nothing to argue about. There's nothing to pick apart on that. And I have adopted that truth for me. And I had to adopt that early on in my leadership career and in my business career. And it has never changed. And it has never failed me. And so it serves me so well. It's the definition of leadership, successful leadership, that I still carry today. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I tell you, even if you don't hold a position, even if you're not a business owner, even if you don't have a fancy title, that definition of leadership still holds true. I mean, just think about if you have influence with your circle of friends. Hey, I just saw this great movie. You guys should go see that movie. And your friends go, oh, okay. So based on your referral, based on your influence that you have over them, they go see the movie. We do this with our friends. Oh, I ate at that new restaurant. There's a new steakhouse in town here where I live. And it was fantastic. Great food, great service. You got to go check it out. Oh, okay. So based on the influence that you have over me, I go check out the steakhouse that you're referring me to. Everybody has influence with someone. Everyone has a certain level of influence, and that, my friends, is leadership. Question number 3. What is the most significant professional setback you have ever faced, and how did you recover? I could probably come up with a few, but I remember, and I won't mention any names, but I remember back when I had my oil field company. It was before I started this career as a professional speaker, as a coach and a consultant. And so I had that company from 1996 to the end of 2005. So almost a decade. And my client was the big oil and gas companies, right? And I had a company that at the time I worked a whole year for one company. I think it was within the first 4 years of the business, so we're still relatively new, I guess, if we could say it that way. And we had already expanded, we'd already grown, and I had committed every truck, every crew, every man hour, every piece of equipment, everything that my company was, I committed to this one oil field company for a year. They just had so much work, mega work. I was their chosen contractor. I thought I was in seventh heaven. And, invoices were going in every single month. And that company chose not to pay me. They didn't pay me a red cent, not a nickel, for a year. I mean, you talk about panic. You talk about putting someone in a pressure situation. I'm the little guy. I just started the company. It was only a few years old. And on one hand, I was all excited. We were working. But the money wasn't being, the invoices were going in, but they weren't paying. And I'd get on the phone and, hey, I submitted that invoice and is payment coming? I got every excuse in the book. You name it, it was pathetic. Here's this multi-million-dollar, oil field company paying the light bill on the back of small entrepreneurs and service providers like me. And I had to have a very crucial conversation. I remember one of their chief oil field consultants in the area here where I live came to me, and he said, hey, we got another job. Can we have you come over and start this one? And I finally had to just say, yeah, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. I think I might have to cut my losses because, the parent company just isn't paying their bills. That's a little bit of an extra story. But here's what I want to say about this. That darn near crippled me. I quit taking a salary. I quit taking a wage. My wife and I both cash in all our investment portfolios, cash in all our RSPs to dump it into the company. We ended up selling our big house. We had this big, it was a 2-story, but it was, with a walkout basement. It was a beautiful big home, and it was kind of right on the edge of a lake. We had to sell that, put all the money, into the company. We lived in a little 900 square foot box on the south end of town, for about 6 years to try to recover. Just tie a big old knot in the rope and hang on. It just about cost us everything. How we survived that, is another story. But I just want to let you know how crucial this was. I had to make payroll every second Friday. I had to make payroll. Every day I had to put fuel in my fleet of trucks. Every single day I had to pay for supplies so that we could actually go out there and do the work. There was still money going out. And we were invoicing all the money, but there's nothing coming in. And so I had to cash in everything. And it was this crucial time. Most people would focus on cutting back. Most people would focus on laying off people. Most people would focus on cutting back. Most people would focus on saving money and reducing expenditures everywhere they could. And I focused on growth. That was hard to do because our typical mindset is shrink back, cut costs, save expenditures. Folks, you will never succeed. You will never succeed, and you will never grow, and you will never expand, and you will never scale saving money. And I got to tell you, every fiber in me, and especially because that's just the human condition, it's human nature, and it's basically what was taught to me as well. Cut back, save. But I chose to do something different. And instead of cutting back, I focused on expanding into other markets. And then it actually broke us through. And eventually we got paid. And, we got some big fat paychecks, and it was fabulous. But a lot of damage had been done. But anyway, going back to the question, what's the most significant professional setback that I have faced, and how did I recover? It was a setback that is the no condition of my own, no fault of my own, just about bankrupt. Somebody else held all the power and withheld an awful lot of money just because. And it just about killed me, and it just about killed my business. But instead of focusing on reducing, cutting back, shrinking back into safety, which is what I see a lot of businesses doing, I chose to go against natural inclination and expand and focus on growth. And it saved us, and it pushed us through. And we got so much farther, faster down the line that when that money did come in, we were so exponentially so far forward than any of our competitors. We outstretched the marketplace. You can never save your way into success. You can never move into success by cutting back. You've got to buck the trend, and you've got to buck the inclination to shrink and stay in safety. Expand, grow, scale. All right, question number 4. What is one overrated trend in your field? I really wasn't sure what they were trying to get at with that question on that panel. And even now I'm trying to remember back that far. I'm not exactly sure what that question actually meant. What is one overrated trend in your field? So here's what I wrote. Not sure it's a trend, but a huge overrated and false belief is that growth and improvement is automatic just because you put in time. I still stick with that. Improvement. John Maxwell says growth is not an automatic process. He's so accurate with that. Improvement and growth is never automatic. It's got to be intentional. And just because you put in time does not mean you're better. And so I'll use that as the overrated trend. I see that in business everywhere. And it just, my uncle would say, that just frosts my potatoes. And that's a really nice way to not cuss. But anyway, and that's just wrong thinking. I see this all the time, and right now it's kind of interesting because I'm going through a talent acquisition process for one of my clients, helping them hire some new staff. And so here we are, we get the resumes in, right? Here's a resume and a cover letter, and oh, I have 5 years experience. I have 10 years experience. I'm like, really? Do you? Do you really have 5 years experience, or do you really have 10 years experience, or do you just have 1 year's experience repeated 5 times? Because those are two completely different things. And I see this in advertising. I hear this on the radio. You see it everywhere. A business. Oh, we've been in business since, and then they put, a year on that, and or so many. We've been in business now, serving the local area, for 20 years. Big deal. Who cares? Just because you have longevity, and which means, that maybe you're stubborn enough to keep pushing through. I guess there's merit in that. But really, who cares? What does that actually mean, and what does that stand for? Just because you've been in business 20 years doesn't mean that you have 20 years experience, doesn't mean you're any better today than you were 20 years ago. It just means you're stubborn, and you can put in longevity, and you got some stick-to-itiveness. Now that stands for something. But unless you evaluate that first year and you learn from it and you grow and you implement the lessons learned, then that second year, now you've got some experience. And then at the end of that second year, you've got to evaluate that last year and learn the lessons and implement those and expand and grow. And now you've got a third year going into of experience. But just because you've put in time doesn't mean that you've got valuable experience. It really doesn't. You can tell I get a little anxious and exasperated. I see that on resumes, and it means nothing to me. I did a first stage interview with a potential candidate this morning on Zoom. I've got so many years, and I just kind of put her on the spot. Really? Do you? Do you have that many years experience, or do you just have 1 year's experience repeated 7 times? Big difference. Explain yourself. Convince me. So a big overrated trend that I see, maybe I'll just say in business, whether you're applying for a job and you're putting a resume together, who cares? Don't put, I've got so many years experience. Explain that. Defend that. Because there's a big difference between just putting in time and evaluating the time you put in, learning from it, growing from it, and having a better year the next year. So whether you're, looking for a job, or you're in business trying to promote yourself to the clientele, it's wrong just to think that because you've put in time, you have experience. That's just stupid. It's just stupid. Anyway, I'm going to stop on that before I really get worked up. All right, let's go to question number 5. Question number 5 that was asked to me on the panel reads like this. What recommendations do you have to prevent Let me try that again. What recommendations do you have to prevent inspiration from being stifled as an organization grows? Great question. Here's the simple answer to that, as far as I'm concerned, my opinion. And you know what we say about opinions. Everybody has more than one, and they both usually stink. But anyway, it's my opinion. And I say, hire inspired and motivated people. You cannot inspire and motivate people. That's an internal job. And so if you want motivated people in your business, you want motivated people to hire, go find motivated people that are already inspired, people that are already motivated, that knows how to be self-motivated and has that internal drive. Go hire that person. And go hire that person before you hire somebody based on skill. Okay? So you can't teach somebody how to be motivated. You can't teach somebody how to be inspired. You go find that person. And that's really all I got to say about that one. That's an inside job for each individual. It's an intentional daily decision to be inspired and to be motivated. Attitude is always a choice. And I can choose to be inspired or not. I can choose to be motivated or not. Heed the warning, Take my advice. Learn from it. It'll serve you well. Question number 6. What is the most dangerous behavior or trait that can derail a leader's career? Ooh, that's a good question. Simply, arrogance. Arrogance. Arrogance in assuming that it's the follower's responsibility to connect with the leader. That's going to kill you. That'll kill you. In fact, I actually did a TED Talk. If you go to, if you go to YouTube and then type in my name, go to YouTube and in the search engine type in Alan Goff, or you can type in Achieving Goals Inc. That's my company name. Type in either one of those two. My TED Talk's going to come up. You'll find it. And it was actually called, oh my goodness. It was a TED Talk that I did. I was invited to come because the theme was on leadership. So it was very, very fitting. And my TED Talk is called, come on Al, you wrote it and you spoke it, you delivered it, you should remember it. It's called Tour Guides, Travel Agents, and Locomotive Leaders. Go watch it. It's only like 18 minutes long, and it's pretty good. If I do say so myself. But I unpack this exact lesson and this exact philosophy, and I unpack that, and you'll understand it. So go watch it. But an attitude that will derail a leader's career is if that leader assumes that it's the follower's responsibility to hurry up and catch up and connect with the leader and align with the leader's vision. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's the leader's responsibility to stop, to back up even if necessary, and connect with their followers. And we don't like to do that as leaders because a leader is typically visionary, and we see a bigger picture, and we want to get there as fast as we can. We want to go further, farther, faster. We want to fulfill the vision. And the last thing we want to do is go slow. Especially, if we got to put the brakes on and stop and wait for somebody to catch up. But it is never the follower's responsibility to hurry up and to connect and to catch up and link up to a leader. It is always, always, always the leader's responsibility to do everything possible to couple and connect with their followers. Go watch the TED Talk. It'll explain the whole thing, and you'll be thankful that you did. In fact, when you do that, leave a comment on the video so I can read it, and give me your honest feedback on what you think. Or come back here to Facebook and leave me a DM, or make a comment on this post or something, and let me know that you watched it, and let me know what you think of it. Again, just do a search on your YouTube, Alan Goff or Achieving Goals Inc., and you'll find it. It's called, what did I say it was called? It's terrible. That's embarrassing. Travel Agents, Tour Guides, or Locomotive Leaders. There we go. Let's go to question 7. We're in the last stretch. We're in the home stretch now. It's question 7 out of 10. When faced with equal qualified candidates, how do you decide who to hire? It's a great fit. 10 lessons that every business owner, every leader should know. When faced with equally qualified candidates, how do you decide who to hire? Let's see what I wrote. First off, I have a hiring process and a performance measure process that removes the emotion out of the equation and focuses on alignment and fit. This eliminates, or at least greatly reduces, bad hiring. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with my own answer. One of the things that kind of gets in the way, we say, oh, okay, two equally qualified candidates, which one do I hire? Most leaders, most managers, most HR people, most people in general, they'll solve that dilemma by the one thing, I got a good vibe from this person. Oh, that just kind of felt really good. That interview felt good. I got a good vibe. Oh, good Lord. Don't make decisions like that based on feelings. How many times have your feelings got you in a bad spot before? We've been burned because we've listened to our feelings. We've been hurt because of we went by what our feelings said. Don't make a hiring decision based on your feelings. Just because it felt good, just because it feels right, just because you got a good vibe. Don't listen to your feelings. The process that I actually take employers through when they're looking for talent acquisition takes the emotion right out of it. Now you might think that's bizarre. But it really comes down to the process that I teach people and take people through. It really comes down to a mathematical equation, and we give the job offer to the person that lands the highest score. And it has nothing to do with emotions. You shouldn't be making big decisions based on emotions, right? You don't make a life decision on who you're going to marry just based on emotion. Oh, she makes me feel so happy. I'm going to just... No, you don't want to do that. That's going to get you burnt. Same thing, okay? So there's an extension to my answer here. Hopefully I'm making some sense. Let's see what I wrote as an extension. There's a little asterisk. But to answer the question, I hire the one who is aligned with the organization's mission, vision, and values. Okay, there's the answer. That's the perfect answer. Let's go back to the question. When faced with equally qualified candidates, how do you decide who to hire? You hire based on the fit for the organization's mission, vision, and values. You know, we hear these words in business all the time. Oh, we've got to have a mission statement. We've got to have a purpose statement. We've got to have our core values and our guiding principles. Yes, you do, but most people think they're just these, you know, it's more than just an airy-fairy set of words that you had some AI search engine or Google put up for it, and you put it on a nice-looking plaque and you put it on a wall. That's meaningless. It's stupid. Don't waste your time and money if that's all it's going to be. But more often than not, businesses fail. It's going to sound so basic, but this goes way back to Business 101, even before 101. But you've got to have what is the purpose for your business? What is the mission that drives the vision of the organization? And what is that vision? And what are the core values and guiding principles that drives every single decision that you're going to make in your business? People, we love to set goals. Oh yeah, I'm going to go into business and I'm going to do this and I got this big dream and great. And then people get all upset. They get all crazy bent out of shape because they're not achieving their goals and they're not scaling and they're not going down the road as far as they need to be, should be, you know. And I'm like, well, we don't set goals first. We don't set goals first and just go chase something that's arbitrary. It's purpose first. Vision second, combined with mission and guiding principles or core values, goals last. Okay? So how do let me go back to the question, faced with equally qualified candidates, who do I decide to hire? I hire the person who aligns with the business. The purpose, their personal purpose, the purpose for who they are and what they do aligns with the purpose of my company. Their personal mission statement aligns with the mission of the organization. Visions align. And their core values, they can marry themselves to my core values, the guiding principles of the organization. There's a lot of power that happens when you can get the core values off the wall and marry them into the hearts and minds of your staff. So how do I make the choice? How do I decide which one? Two equally qualified candidates. I'm going to hire the one who is aligned with the organization's mission, vision, and values. And then as long as they have the elasticity to be able to stretch and grow to fulfill the roles and responsibilities of the organization in the way that the organization needs them to fulfill those roles and responsibilities, so that the business can fulfill the mission and the purpose for which it exists, that's the person I'm going to hire. That's the person I really don't care about the skill set. Because if I've got somebody that is truly aligned with the mission, vision, and values of the organization, and they have the elasticity to become the person who can fill the roles and responsibilities in the way that my organization needs them to fill those roles and responsibilities to achieve the outcomes for which my organization exists, I can teach them anything. And so can you. So there's a good lesson for you. Hopefully you got that. If not, you need some more help with that, reach out to me. We'll have a deeper discussion. We'll talk about, maybe your issues in your company. We'll get that fixed and solved for you. Question number 8, 2 left. Question number 8, what is the most important skill for professionals to stay competitive in the future? Grow daily. That's it. Grow daily. That's how I'm going to answer that question. We can just move on to question 9. I don't think there's any reason to expand on that, except for this. That requires intention. So, what is the most important skill, or what is the most important skill for professionals to stay competitive in the future? Intentionally. Intentionally. Let's say it again. Intentionally grow. daily. You've got to intentionally grow daily. Now, what does daily mean? Now, I think you understand what intentionally means, because growth is never an automatic process. We go back to what John Maxwell taught me. I remember when I was in the first graduating class of certified John Maxwell coaches and trainers and speakers. There was less than 50 of us in the room. We just sat at the master's feet. This is one of the things that he said. Growth is never an automatic process. You've got to be absolutely intentional. So whether you're the business owner or whether you're the employee, wake up every morning with the mindset of, how do I intentionally grow today so that I'm better at the end of today than when I started the day? How do I intentionally grow that so that tomorrow is better than today? And next week is better than this week. And next month is better than this month. And next quarter is better than this quarter. And next year is better than this year. You've got to do it with intention, because it'll never happen otherwise. It just won't. I don't care how good you think you are. If you don't do it with intention, it's not going to happen. And you've got to do it daily. So here's what daily means, because one of the things that I know is this: same words mean different things to different people. So for some of you, daily means Monday to Friday. As long as I'm intentionally growing on the weekday, because those are the days that I'm on the job, or those are the days that are on my business. No. Monday to Friday doesn't mean daily, because there's 7 days in the week. How do I make 7 without my stub? There's 7 days in a week. Okay? There's depending on the month, there's 28, there's 30, there's 31 days in a month. There's 365 days in a year. Unless we're on leap year, then there's 366. So on a leap year, you got to intentionally grow 366 days out of that year. On a regular year, without the extra, you have to intentionally grow 365 days. You're going to have to put some intention into it on Saturdays and on Sundays and on your mama's birthday and the day that you'd rather go and, hang out at the lake and dabble your toes in there and whack a stupid little ball around a golf course. This is daily. Oh, it's my birthday today. I'm going to take the day off and we're just going to go party. You better intentionally grow that day or you're going to get left behind. I hope you get it, folks. I say it with love, but it comes out because if you want to be above average, if you want to go further, farther, faster, and you want to stand out, and you really want to become something and be exceptional, I don't care if it's in your business, in your ministry, in your job. You got to do things differently than the average Joe. So, how do you want to? The best thing I can give you is advice to stay competitive in the future. Intentionally grow daily. That means you are on the hook to grow with intention. 7 days a week, 365 days a year, even when you're on vacation. Go pull yourself aside somewhere for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, something. Just because you're going to intentionally take some time to intentionally doesn't mean you got to spend an hour at it. But it's some time. With purpose and intention, I can tangibly grow today and get better today than I was yesterday in 10 minutes of block focused time. I can. And so can you. So don't hear me wrong. Don't think that now you got to, oh shoot, now I have to schedule an extra hour a day to intentionally grow. Where am I going to find the time to do that? Nobody said you got to do it for an hour. Take 20 minutes. Take 50 minutes. Take 10 minutes. Take 10 minutes 6 times a day if you want, and there's your hour. Take 15 minutes 4 different times in your 24 hours. And again, you might have to extend the amount of time that you stay awake. Maybe you got to cut out a little bit of your stupid gaming habit, or your TV watching habit, or your drinking habit, or your something habit, and convert that into purposeful, intentional growth. Just because my mind goes on goat trips, and my mind just went on a goat trip, I'm going to say something that maybe has nothing to do with this lesson, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Maybe I'll do a complete lesson on it down the road. Somebody might have to remind me and say, hey, unpack that. But one of the things I ask people, they come to me an awful lot, they go, hey, Al, I got this idea, I got this business idea, I want to start this business, what do you think? Well, on a past Ask the Coach Live, I addressed this one, so I won't spend much time on it, but I always say, well, who cares what I think? And there's a process, and there's 4 absolute key, vital questions that you have to ask and you have to know the answer to before you start out in business. But anyway, one of the things that I like to ask people when they come and they pick my brain about those sorts of things, like, why do you want to get into business? And they say, well, I want to be my own boss, and I want to be my own leader, and I want to command my time, and I want to have time, right? Time and money freedoms. And I said, well, what does time freedom mean to you? What does command your time? What does command your day mean to you? Well, I only want to work half a day. I said, great. Entrepreneurship will do that for you. You can work only half a day as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. No problem. And you even get to choose which 12 hours you want to work. Chew on that one for a while. Anyway, let's go back to our list of questions. Second last question that I was asked on this panel. What is one action item that the audience, okay, that's how it was asked, can implement immediately? So what is one action item that you, the listener, you, the watcher, could implement immediately? And that is this. Move from unconscious incompetence to consciously competent as quickly as you can. So I'm going to repeat that, and you might be a little bit unfamiliar with those phrases. It's move from unconscious incompetence to consciously competent as quickly as you can. What's an unconscious incompetent? An unconscious incompetent means I don't know what I don't know. And that describes everybody in some capacity, every entrepreneur, every business owner, whether you're just starting out brand new or you're seasoned. There's things that we just don't know. We're ignorant, and ignorant isn't a bad word. It's not insulting for me to call you ignorant. It's just, we put a negative connotation on it, but ignorance just means that we don't know what we don't know. And so we're unconscious incompetence. But move from there into being consciously competent as quickly. What's a conscious competent? Someone who's consciously competent means, oh, now I know what I don't know. As soon as you can figure out and move from being an unconscious incompetent to a consciously competent person, and you figure out what you don't know, then you better move as fast as you can to figure out how to learn what it is that you don't know that you now realize you need to know. I know it sounds like a bit of a weird play on words, but I think you got it. Let me read this in its entirety, and we'll see if it even makes more sense. What is one action item that you can implement immediately? Move from unconscious incompetence to consciously competent as quickly as you can. But you can't do that, or at least it's extremely difficult and even rare to do that on your own. And I agree. This is going to sound a little bit self-serving or self-promoting, but it is really, really hard to do that on your own. For me to sit back and go, hang on, I've just come to the awareness that I'm unconsciously incompetent about this thing, and now all of a sudden I realize I don't know that and I should go learn that. That's hard for me to do. Even as a seasoned coach and as a seasoned, success strategist, and that's hard for me to do. That's hard for anybody to do. And this is where you need somebody on your team. You need some inner circle person that is close to you. This is where you need to have a very good and a very competent coach or a great mentor or an advisor, somebody like that can come in and be close to you, because it's so much easier for someone like that to see your blind spots than you are. You get that. You know that. I don't need to unpack that any further. Someone who can see, again, those blind spots, and help you avoid those career crasher moments and those business breaker moments and those situations when they show up. So as quick as you can, move from unconscious incompetence to consciously competent. But that's going to require you to have a great coach, a competent coach, or a wonderful advisor, or a mentor in your corner. Go find that person. Last question. Oh my gosh, we're like 44 minutes in. Well, that's okay. 10th lesson. 10 lessons every business owner needs to know. Question number 10 that was posed to me on that panel. If the audience remembers only one thing, what should it be? Okay, so I'll say, if you walk away from this video remembering only one thing, what should it be? Well, I suppose that's something different for everybody. But I'll say this, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. That's it. There is no such thing as staying the same. I wish that they would take the word plateau out of the English language, because there's no such thing. We don't stagnate and become the same. Oh, you say people, hey, how you doing today? Or I'll say, hey, how's business today? And I just want to punch people when they say, oh, same old, same old. No, there's no such thing as same old, same old. We don't plateau. We don't stay the same. Every living thing, whether it's a plant, whether it's a nice, pretty flower that smells nice, or it's a stinky old weed, whether it's a tree, whether it's an animal, whether it's a fish, whether it's a human being, or it's your business, or it's your ministry. These are living, breathing organisms that you're either moving it forward or it's going backwards. It's either growing or it's dying. It's either going up or it's going down. There's no such thing as staying the same. You as a person never stay the same. Your business never stays the same. Your business and you and your business, you're either growing and expanding, or you're going backwards and you're dying. That's it. That's my promise. Guaranteed. Take it to the bank. Okay? And guess what? If you're not intentionally growing and intentionally increasing, you are by default going backwards. If you are not intentionally growing, you are by default dying. I hope you can stand it. And some of you are struggling in business because you haven't been intentionally growing for God knows when. And it might be slow. It might be a slow, gradual process where you want to debate me. You want to think that I'm wrong because you're like, oh, no. I've been stuck at this spot for 3 weeks. I've been stuck at this spot for 3 months. I've been stuck at this spot for 3 years. I've been stuck at this spot for 30 years. I've been plateaued here. But, I'm just hanging in. I'm just hanging in. The old status quo. I'm like, no. It might be slow. You might not see it, or you might even just be too stupid to recognize it, but you're going backwards and you're going broke and you're dying. Sorry to be blunt. No, I'm not sorry to be blunt. That's kind of my personality. That's how you know me. I'm not you don't ever hire me to be your friend. You hire me to be your coach. You hire me to be your drill sergeant. You hire me to break through what's holding you back and get further, farther, faster. This is key to that. You are not intentional about your growth, sucks to be you. If you're not intentional about your growth, sucks to be employed in your business. So let me leave you with that. There you go. 10 lessons every business needs to know. Last one, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. You are not staying the same. And if you are not intentionally moving forward and growing and becoming bigger and scaling, becoming more profitable, or whatever that is, you, my friend, are dying. And it's just a matter of time before the last nail gets put in the coffin and we put a headstone on you. Tough lesson, but there you go. I'll see you on the next Ask the Coach Live. You know what I just realized? Nowhere on my screen, maybe I don't have something clicked right, but nowhere on my screen do I see comments. So maybe either just nobody's, I don't know where that is. That's okay. Maybe nobody's watching. Maybe only people are going to watch the replay. That's okay. Anyway, I hope you got something out of it. I'm hard on you because I love you. I'm hard on you because I see potential in you. I'm hard on you because I know you can become better and you can do bigger things exponentially, far beyond anything you could ever dare even imagine. And so sometimes we've got to be a little hard to get it so that we can be above average and be outstanding and exceptional. I hope you're outstanding and exceptional today. We'll see you on the next live. Cheers.